It was a quiet winter night, and then suddenly,
Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Purpose of this channel is to educate, inspire, entertain, and hopefully make a contribution to your creativity. Welcome to Art Party Now. I'm John McLane, the artist, and today we're going to draw another one of the all-time greatest animated characters in history, the extraordinary elephant with a heart of pure gold and ears like an airplane, the main attraction of the traveling circus, Dumbo! So if you want to learn to draw, if you're entertained or inspired by watching artists create, or if you simply love art, you are definitely in the right place. So let's start the party. All right, so as you can see, I've got Dumbo all sketched out on 18 by 24 inch bright blue poster board, which I thought would be an interesting experiment for this amazing character. Not exactly sure how it's gonna turn out when it comes time to color it in, but I love Dumbo, so really wanted this one to come out vivid and bright. So as always, I've got my supersized Sharpie for the outlines, fine point Sharpie for the details. So if you want to draw along with me, right now would be the perfect time to get out your materials and get set up. Or if you just want to put your feet up on the couch, snuggle up under a blanket and enjoy the party that way, that's totally cool too. So let's rock and roll. Okay, so we're gonna start our Dumbo outline with a horizontal S curve for the bottom of his trunk and cap it with another little S curve for the corner of his mouth. Then we draw a little triangle with a line down the middle for his tongue, with a little V shape underneath for the bottom lip. We draw a W shape for the tip of the trunk, another S curve for the top of his trunk with a few overlapping folds on top, and then we draw a smooth U shape for Dumbo's chin. Then we can draw Dumbo's left eye connected to the folds on top of his trunk with an oval shape for the eye, a circle inside for the iris, two smaller circles for the pupil and the highlight, and two eyelashes on top. Then we use the same exact shapes to draw the right eye a little bit higher than the left and right in between the folds on the trunk and the corner of the mouth. Then we do a little curve for Dumbo's cheek, another for his forehead, a line curving the opposite way for the bottom of his hat, and one more long curve for the back of his head where we'll draw his giant ears later. We put two little hairs on the back of his head, and then another two little lines above each eye for his eyebrows, and then a line above his right cheek, leaving a little space for where we're gonna draw his ear later. Now we're gonna draw Dumbo's hat, which is kind of complicated to try to explain, so just watch my lines. And if you are trying to follow along, keep in mind there's no shame if you need to rewind certain parts to try to get it right. I'm a professional, and this portion of the video is running at 3 times normal speed, so always take whatever time you need to get the result you want, and never get discouraged by how fast my hands appear to be moving. Next, we're gonna draw Dumbo's ruffle collar, which was a distinctive fashion accessory for elites in 16th century Europe, as well as with clowns from all continents to this very day. This part of Dumbo's costume would also be excruciating if I tried to describe every line in words, but the basic idea is simple. 2 straight lines on either side of Dumbo's neck, connected with a wavy line in between and a stripe down the middle. Keep in mind, you could always add the stripe down the middle when it's time to color it in. Next, we're gonna draw 2 vertical lines for the sides of Dumbo's body, and then add sort of a W shape to the left line for his 2 front feet, and then another S curve for the edge of his right front leg. Then we can add Dumbo's back left leg with a cylinder shape on the left side, a line for the bottom of his belly, which connects to an oval shape where we'll see the bottom of Dumbo's right foot. We draw 2 little folds on top of the foot and a larger bump for his knee, which connects the lines from his foot to his back. Then we draw a Y shape between Dumbo's front feet and add 1 extra little line to show the space between his front legs and his chest. And then we can go back and add 2 little semicircles to each foot to define Dumbo's toenails, which should start making your drawing look and feel like an elephant. Now we can draw 2 little wrinkle lines that define Dumbo's kneecaps on 3 out of his 4 legs to make sure we keep it asymmetrical. And the next move is where we bring it all together. We draw a curving line with a wave at the bottom from Dumbo's trunk to his left foot, and 1 more line next to the first line to define the fold in his giant left ear. We do another long S-curve from the back of Dumbo's head, another S-curve connecting his right foot to the end of our first line, and 1 more line, same shape as the first, where they meet in a point at the tip of Dumbo's right ear. Now that we've completed our iconic character, it's time to go for some extra credit. So we're gonna draw a giant circle under Dumbo that connects to the middle of both of his back feet so that he's sitting on top of a giant circus ball. To give the ball a 3-dimensional quality, we're gonna add 2 curving lines down the middle and 1 more towards the bottom. Next, we're gonna draw a few parallel V-shaped lines beneath Dumbo's feet to define the edge of the giant star that he's sitting on top of the ball. And after we complete the giant star on top of the ball, we're gonna add 4 smaller stars that wrap around the bottom half of the ball, following the same curve as our initial stripes. This part doesn't need to be perfect, but just try to have the horizontal lines on the top edge of your stars follow the same curve as the stripes around the ball. Once we've completed our stars on the bottom half of the ball, the final move to complete our outline is to draw a little oval shape around the bottom of the ball that will end up becoming the shadow when we go back and color it in a little later. All right, there we have it. So there's our finished Sharpie outline of Dumbo. So now I'm gonna go back and darken in some of these lines, add some line quality, and increase the shadows, make it look a little bit more 3D. So make sure you stick around because this is where it gets exciting. In this phase of our drawing, I'm increasing my line quality by thickening the lines in specific areas to create the illusion of shadows and weight. And if we really want to get complicated, I'm also thinking about atmospheric perspective, but we're going to save that conversation for the next episode. So there's our completed Sharpie drawing of Dumbo with weighted lines. I don't know if you noticed, but I forgot to draw the tip of his trunk during the main drawing section there. So if you're wondering how that works, it's just a little line and a swoop. So if you've been drawing along with me, right now would be the perfect time to take a good long look at this, smooth out your lines, make everything just how you want it. And if you're that person with your feet up on the couch, snuggled under the blankets, make sure you don't go anywhere because we're about to get to the most fun part of the party when we bring Dumbo to life with color. You won't want to miss it. All right, so I ran a few little color experiments here just to see how different colors overlap, pencils, markers. So I've decided I'm gonna use the Sharpie Creative markers because they show up the brightest on this blue background. So I'm not exactly sure how this is gonna go. I know it's gonna work. I just don't know how it's gonna work. So let's keep our fingers crossed and do this thing together. In our initial phase of color, I'm experimenting with the brightest areas first, because on this deep blue background, these bright yellow sections are where I'm most likely gonna need more than one layer of color, so I'm trying to determine how many layers it will take to keep this yellow brilliant and bright. All right, so I'm really happy with how bright the yellow came out up in the hat here, but if you look at down here where I only did one layer, it's gonna take a couple of layers to get these bright colors really bright on this dark blue background. So I sat back from the canvas here, mentally running through different scenarios, trying to figure out, is there any way to get to my vision more efficiently and effectively? And when the solution keeps coming up, I'm gonna have to layer it and I'm gonna have to blend it. At that point, it's time to just tell my brain, shut up and draw. So let's do this. In our second phase of color, I'm using the white marker to complete Dumbo's eyes, which will anchor his expression for the rest of the process, as well as testing to see if the orange we have will work as a shadow tone for our yellow, and adding a few details with pink that hopefully will work perfectly as the highlights for our red marker, which we'll be using next. Okay, so now that I've got a base layer for all the brightest colors, I'm gonna go back and start filling in all the rest of the colors, and then come back and do a second layer of the brightest colors to really make them pop. Future John here with a little color commentary. I thought I'd take a moment, rather than just describing the colors I'm using, to let you know that if you've made it this far into the video, you are truly loved and appreciated. The finished result of this Dumbo piece is by far my favorite of any character since we started the channel, because of the way I'm building up the details using contour coloring, which is a unique process I'll explain in just a few more seconds. So for now, let's all just relax and enjoy the ride. Okay, so now that I've got most of my colors blocked in here, I'm gonna start breathing life into our main character. What I hope you'll notice here is that while I'm using a light gray for the highlights on Dumbo's skin, I'm allowing the blue color of the paper to serve as my mid-tone shadows. I'll explain why this is important in a minute. All right, so before we continue, there's something really cool that I want to show you that took me a lot of years of struggle to figure out. I don't think you can even look this up on the internet or in any books. What I'm calling it is contour coloring. So if you take a close look at the lines that I'm doing when I'm coloring, I'm not just coloring all haphazardly. I'm trying to imagine as if Dumbo was a three-dimensional object. So if his head was like this, then my lines would curve like this. If the front of his head is like that, then my lines would curve like that. If his cheek is right here, same way as my hand is, the lines would curve like this. And then if I reached out and grabbed his leg there, the lines would curve like that. Same thing I'm doing with the ball. So again, this took me years of trial and error to figure out, and I'm calling it contour coloring. I could almost just call this thing done because I really love how the blue of the paper is working as the shadow tone on Dumbo's skin there. But I think we can bring this to life a little bit more before we cue the confetti. as I'm adding a few more details to increase the illusion of shadows and light. Let's circle back to why it's important to note that I'm using the blue of the paper for the shadows on Dumbo's skin. Just today, I saw another artist refer to this as a genius painting technique, but I thought using the word genius to describe it was a little bit clickbaity, considering I've been using this method since I was 9 years old, and it shows up in every art party where I'm drawing on colored paper. The point is that if you select the right background color for your artwork, you won't need to add color to certain elements of the piece because the color is already there. This technique was a joyful revelation I had when I was starting out as an artist, and applying it will save you time and energy. I don't know if it'll turn you into a genius, but when used correctly, it'll certainly make you seem like a genius. All right, so I'm actually really happy with how these colors are looking right now, so I don't want to go too much farther, but I feel like I gotta block in the inside of Dumbo's ears, and then we'll see how much farther we want to go after that. All right, so I just wanted to slow down for a second so you can take a really close look at how I'm building up the inside of Dumbo's ears with more contour coloring. So it takes a lot of layers, but I'm trying to imagine how the inside of his ear actually curves and have my lines follow that path with every line. So I'm gonna keep working on this and building it up because I think the end is near. If you're having fun so far or learning anything new by watching this, I want to encourage you to share the inspiration with a friend. I believe one inspired and inclusive action has the power and potential to transform the world. And if that doesn't happen, who knows? You might just brighten someone's day. Okay, so I'm actually really loving how Dumbo is looking at this stage of our drawing. And one thing I've learned over many, many years of being a professional artist is that the worst thing you can do to a painting or a drawing is overwork it. So since I'm kind of loving this the way it is, I think I'm just gonna add a few little finishing touches and then call this one done. So I hope you guys had fun in this episode of How to Draw Dumbo. So stick around for the final reveal so you can see all these details close up. Make sure you check out all your favorite characters in our cartoon collection, and we'll see you at the next art party. Cue the confetti. This episode of Art Party Now is brought to you by Feng Shui Energy Fine Art Prints. Click the link in the description to order yours today. Thank you so much for joining us at the art party today. If you had fun or learned anything, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel. Drop us a comment if you have any requests for future episodes, and click this link to keep the party going.